I'd very much like to begin by addressing your offensive moral law argument that without God as an objective moral standard, we atheists, those who do not have the influence of theism, would be Hitler-esque amoral beings.
Stop right there, because that's not the case.
This is a fantastic example of an atheist student asking really good questions and someone giving great answers. Check this out.
Hello, my name is Carter.
Hey, Carter.
And I'd very much like to begin by addressing your offensive moral law argument that without God as an objective moral standard, we atheists, those who do not have the influence of theism, would be Hitler-esque amoral beings.
Okay, let me stop right there, because that's not the case. I never said that atheists can't be moral. I never said atheists don't know morality. In fact, atheists know morality just like everybody else. We know morality because it's written on our hearts. What I'm saying is that atheists can't justify morality. That's the point. In fact, I had to say this several times to Christopher Hitchens. Christopher, I'm not saying you're a bad guy. Christopher, I'm not saying you don't know morality. In fact, I like Christopher. I thought he was a good guy. What I'm saying is you can't justify why not murder innocent people to get what you want. That's the point. It's a point about ontology, not a point about epistemology. It's not a point about how you know the moral law. It's a point about why does the moral law exist.
And that is a critical thing to keep your eyes on, because that's the most common misunderstanding, the whole moral argument for the existence of God.
I may return to address this, or the gentleman behind me may address it, but I'd really like to address your design argument.
Okay.
As I understood that you've argued that a painting or a creation, to use the term painting, implies a painter, or a design implies a designer. But I must ask, who designed God? And if no one designed God, if God is timeless, spaceless, and immaterial, and he existed eternally in an uncaused fashion, then why can't nature exist in the exact same way, in an eternal, uncaused, spaceless, timeless, immaterial fashion? Why can't our uncaused origins be as marvelous and precise as God, but be natural causes?
Excellent question, Carter. That's a very good question. You're right that we have two options here. Either the universe is the uncaused first cause, or something beyond the universe is the uncaused first cause. The problem is that all the evidence points to the fact that the universe is not the uncaused first cause. And I didn't have time to go through that evidence tonight. That was part one. But I'll give it to you very briefly in an acronym, SURGE, S-U-R-G-E. S stands for the second law of thermodynamics, which says that the universe is running down. Well, if it's running down, somebody must have wound it up. We'd have no energy left right now if the universe was eternal. The U stands for the fact that the universe is expanding. Edwin Hubble detected that back in 1929 and shows that everything came from a single point. A point actually of infinite density, the singularity, which is actually nothing. So the universe had a beginning. The R in SURGE stands for the radiation afterglow. That's the remnant heat discovered by Penzias and Wilson in 1965, which is literally the smoking gun to the Big Bang. There's heat, remnant heat from the Big Bang still out there, which shows that the universe had a beginning. The G in SURGE stands for the great galaxy seeds, which were very fine temperature variations in that radiation afterglow that allowed the galaxies to form in the early universe. And the E stands for Einstein's theory of general relativity, which shows that time, space, and matter are correlative, that they came into existence together, that space, time, and matter literally had a beginning. Einstein knew this in 1916. Then observational evidence began in 1919 when Eddington did his test on the eclipse. And then Hubble discovered the expanding universe in 1929, and then on to the radiation afterglow and the great galaxy seeds after that. So the evidence points to the fact that the universe is not the uncaused first cause. So there must be something beyond the universe that is, and that thing that's beyond the universe must be spaceless, timeless, and immaterial. And if you're timeless, do you have a beginning?
No.
No. So God is not, he didn't have a beginning. He's the uncaused first cause. And look, Aristotle, Plato, they all knew this. They knew there had to be an unmoved mover.
I love the fact that he had that SURGE thing in his pocket. He obviously does this a lot, but it's very, very good stuff because it does wonderfully summarize the arguments around the beginning of the universe.
I believe that you're drawing a false dichotomy, because we do not know that the original cause was God. And there is no reason to say that an intelligent designer was the first cause, the uncaused first cause that caused everything else. I do not have the training or expertise to refute SURGE science, and in fact I accept your conclusion that the Big Bang had a beginning and space-time and matter came into existence from a point of origin. But we do not know that this point of origin is God. Calling it God is to make a false assumption. Another reason for the existence of everything might simply be that other dimensions have the power and the marvelousness and complexity to create a situation where where the Big Bang could be brought into existence and space-time and matter could begin to exist without an intelligent designer having a hand.
Well, Carter, what you just described there is what we would call God. God is in another dimension that has the ability to bring these dimensions into existence. So if you want to call it another dimension, you can call it that. But that's exactly what we mean by God.
But then why is there a theology? Why do we worship God if he could easily be called another?
Excellent point. You don't have to worship God. In fact, Aristotle never worshiped God. In fact, the Greeks never got their theology and philosophy together.
That's critical to understand. And one of the things that we need to know, this whole definition of God, that is why we came up with the concept, to describe something philosophically that we know has to be true. And so we call that God. The Greeks did it, but they didn't put it together with personal reality the way the Hebrews did. That was their contribution. The Hebrew people came up with the personal God who interacts with our lives. And then Christians came up with the one that said that became a man. But I also want to go back to the very first point the guy made. This is probably the most common misunderstanding of what's called the moral argument for the existence of God. It's never saying that atheists can't be moral. That's not the point. It's saying, where do morals come from? Because we all treat them as if they are outside, or what they call transcendent. They're outside of us. They're something we have to aspire to. They're not just something we make up inside of ourselves, or even human society makes up. That's the important point. It has nothing to do with your own personal morality, other than the fact that we all feel compelled to follow a certain morality, and we also feel compelled to challenge others to follow that morality. We don't treat it like it's just this random thing that's purely subjective. That's very important to know. Check out this video where Christy Burke, who's an ex-evangelical, talks about the moral argument. Hope that helped. See you next time.